In 2013, I created Something for Kelly. It's an organization that really is to honor my niece, Kelly Burke Noby, who lost a battle to anorexia. And during that window of time after she died, for the first few years, my family pretty much didn't know how to talk about Kelly now that she was no longer walking on the earth with us. We didn't want to not honor her memory, but every time we talked with my sister or some of my other family members about her, it got rather emotional. When Kelly was alive, we really didn't know what to do for her. We didn't know if we could bring the subject up because it was always so delicate. She wasn't in denial about having anorexia, but she just didn't want to talk about it. So after she passed, our family was still so much in grief and deep mourning that they were pretty much at a loss of how to respond to her death. I remember very vividly wondering, what do I say to my sister years after when I don't want to dishonor her memory and not speak about her, but when I would talk about her, it was always still just so emotional. So one day I just decided that I would send her a message, send Nancy a message and say, would it be okay if I did something for Kelly? And the response came back almost instantly, what have you got in mind? So I spent about 7 years learning what I could about the eating disorder from the perspective of professionals. I had obviously the painful experience of a family member. And what I came to realize is that there were a lot of really good professional people who weren't really talking to each other. For an example, I learned that from the time a survey or a scientific survey is completed to the time that treatment is provided is averaging about 17 years. And the number of people who could have been helped in that window of time is something that we have to start to address. In honor of Kelly and to recognize the fact that it was so very difficult to talk to her or to my family during her lifetime, and we always wanted to do something, we just didn't know what it was. It seemed appropriate that that's what we would call the organization, Something for Kelly. 7 years later, that Something for Kelly has turned out to be a very special partnership with Dr. Cynthia Bulick with the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She's very well renowned for her work in genetics as it relates to eating disorders.
It's so heartwarming to see partnerships between families, patients, advocacy groups, researchers, clinicians, to come together in a global research effort like this. It's never happened to me before in my life, and I'm just sometimes overwhelmed by emotion with how this is happening all over the world, because this is the only way we can get that kind of sample size so that we can catch up to schizophrenia and have the same kind of results that we're seeing in the other psychiatric disorders.
And she has a history with it, so we are putting our efforts behind her study, and we are helping to bridge the gap between science and solutions for eating disorders. What we're doing, the Something for Kelly, is connecting the science of people like Cynthia Bulick with the solutions of clinicians and treatment providers, as well as organizations that are creating standards of care. We need to establish the standards of care so that the clinicians and the other providers can all agree, so that when a patient needs help, needs insurance coverage, everybody's on the same page. If you would like to learn more about the mission of Something for Kelly, go to our website, somethingforkelly.org. Thank you.